There's nothing quite like an expensive cut of meat expertly prepared and served hot to your table. Before you head out for a costly dinner, check out this worst to first ranking of some of the major US steakhouse chains to make sure your money will be well spent. If you're craving a delicious steak, stay far away from Bonanza Steakhouse. This chain tries to combine the best attributes of a traditional steakhouse and a buffet restaurant, but instead you get high-end steakhouse prices at discount buffet quality. Bonanza Steakhouse also serves a wide array of seafood, chicken, and other American favorites that generally underwhelm. If you have to order off of the menu, order anything but the steak, which is the worst of the worst. The best value at this steakhouse is actually their salad bar. Bonanza Steakhouse and Ponderosa Steakhouse are both owned by the same parent company, so do yourself a favor and avoid both.
We come, adorable husband, because the steaks are delicious, tender, juicy, and cooked just the way you like them. They're great!
No, they're not.
When you first walk into Claim Jumper, it looks like a great choice. This national steakhouse chain, which dates back to 1977, has a fun Western theme that's centered on the California gold rush of the mid-1800s. During those times, a claim jumper was someone who wrongfully occupied someone else's property, usually with the hope of finding gold. Today, if you make the mistake of going to Claim Jumper, you too will feel like you've been robbed. Despite the fun vibes and interesting furnishings, the food is forgettable. No matter what you order off of the menu, you won't be pleased. Even if you think you'll enjoy Claim Jumper's Western theme, just watch a Western movie instead, and then head to a steakhouse that is worthy of your money. With more than 700 locations in the United States, there's a good chance that you've been to an Outback Steakhouse. Unfortunately, that also means there's a good chance that you've been disappointed. Not only is Outback Steakhouse way too expensive for what you get compared to other restaurants of the same caliber, but the quality of the meat never lives up to what you see on the commercials.
In a perfect world, I would be eating at Chili's constantly, but tonight, there's no rules, just right. Outback Steakhouse.
Outback Steakhouse is primarily known for its Australian theme. If you buy into the hype, you'd think that this restaurant chain serves authentic food that Australians eat while they're tossing around boomerangs and boxing kangaroos. But it's clear from the very American offerings that the founders had never traveled to the land down under prior to opening their first location. The food you'll get at Logan's Roadhouse isn't too different from the offerings at Outback Steakhouse. The main difference is you get slightly more bang for your buck at Logan's Roadhouse, without the fake Australian shtick. That said, Logan's Roadhouse is far from an elite steakhouse. You can find tender ribs here, and the margarita cheesecake is legitimately great, but the steaks leave a lot to be desired. The flavor is lacking, and the texture is iffy at best. One cool thing about Logan's Roadhouse is that the restaurant gives you a bucket of peanuts at your table. Sadly, following multiple lawsuits related to slipping on peanut shells, some locations no longer allow you to throw the peanut shells on the floor, diminishing the restaurant's casual charm. Now there's nothing to distract you from the boring food. With locations all over the world, Wolfgang Steakhouse is truly international, but if you're in the US, you'll have to find one in New York, New Jersey, or Hawaii. Is it worth it? While the steak at Wolfgang's is a lot better than the steak you find at most casual steakhouses, it's not quite good enough to justify the price tag of about $50 per steak. While the ribeye steak is very flavorful, it's just not notable enough to be worth the money. The high prices would be easier to digest if it weren't for the fact that Wolfgang Steakhouses can get uncomfortable and loud. This is not the place to go if you're trying to have an in-depth conversation with a date. Also, don't get confused and think that this steakhouse is the brainchild of Wolfgang Puck. This chain comes from a man named Wolfgang Zwiener, and while Mr. Zwiener has more than 40 years of experience in the industry, the confusion caused by the name of the restaurant resulted in a lawsuit. Saltgrass Steakhouse is basically the opposite of Wolfgang Steakhouse, both in good ways and bad ways. offering an extremely comfortable dining experience with friendly, attentive waiters, relatively low prices, and an impressive assortment of appetizers and desserts. Unfortunately, the quality of the steaks at Saltgrass Steakhouse just isn't there. The restaurant covers all its steaks with a flood of garlic butter, and while that's a tasty gimmick the first time or two you have it, eventually you'll realize that the wool is being pulled over your eyes. Beneath the butter is a steak that lacks the flavor or the satisfying texture to survive on its own. If you want to go to a Saltgrass Steakhouse, you won't have much luck on either the East Coast or the West Coast, but you can find this steakhouse throughout the heartland if you look hard enough. Charlie Palmer Steak has locations from the Golden State to the Big Apple, all of them luxurious. But unless you know exactly what you're doing, you're not guaranteed to be satisfied by your meal. For starters, you need to know that the seafood at Charlie Palmer Steak is actually better than their steak. Their yellowfin tuna tartare, citrus-marinated wild Baja prawns, pan-roasted sea bass, and halibut are all great choices. If you do go with their steak, be sure you add a sauce like horseradish cream, blue cheese fondue, or roasted garlic jus. Otherwise, if you order a steak without any sauce, you'll be met with a piece of meat that looks really good but lacks flavor. Morton's The Steakhouse claims to have the best steak anywhere, and at one point in time, that may have been true. However, these days, you're taking a gamble. Sometimes the steaks are outstanding, but other times, they're so rubbery that you'll have a difficult time swallowing. Unfortunately, the prices are the same no matter what you end up with. If you're headed to Morton's The Steakhouse, order the filet mignon, which it offers in 3 different sizes, starting at 6 ounces. If you're lucky, you'll get an amazing steak that you will talk about for the rest of the week. But if you get a steak that has a rubbery texture, all you can do is eat as much as you can and take the rest home for your dog. Fido will be thrilled. Black Rock Bar and Grill is an interesting concept, and while this place is unlikely to become your favorite steakhouse, it's unique enough that you should try it at least once in your life. At Black Rock, your meat is served on a volcanic rock that's been heated to 755 degrees. It's a novel idea, but not the strangest thing a steak has been served on.
What is that thing?
These are roof tile.
Wow. Me.
Once you're given your slab of sizzling meat, you're in charge of the rest of the cooking. The best part of the experience is that every bite of steak promises to be as hot and as juicy as your initial bite. On the other hand, if you wanted to cook your own food, wouldn't you have just gone to your kitchen instead? Black Rock Bar and Grill isn't a place to kick back, relax, and get lost in conversation. It promises to be a memorable dinner, but you'll be responsible for most of the heavy lifting. With only 8 far-flung locations, Shula Steakhouse stretches the definition of national chain, but it's worth mentioning nonetheless. Shula's is the creation of legendary Miami Dolphins head coach Don Shula. You might think that a football coach knows a thing or two about filling up hungry people who love to eat, and you'd be right. While this steakhouse offers a fine dining experience, the portions are large, and the steaks are worth the money you'll spend. If you go to Shula's with a big appetite, order the 48-ounce porterhouse, and there's no way you'll leave without feeling stuffed. What holds this steakhouse back is the lack of quality options on the menu. While the steaks are really good, the seafood is mediocre, the appetizers are a letdown, and even the cocktails manage to underwhelm. If you like your steak to be bleeding, Stoney River is the place to go. In fact, Stoney River doesn't recommend ordering their steak medium well or above. While this may be disappointing for those who prefer to see no pink in their steak, it's a godsend for those who daydream about digging into a rare slab of meat. Stoney River has more than a dozen locations spread across Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, Missouri, North Carolina, and Tennessee. But it's worth a trip if you can gather up a group of like-minded carnivores who enjoy rare meat. Don't go here if you want to order seafood or salads, as you'll be disappointed. Stick to what Stoney River does best. Texas Roadhouse is what would happen if Outback Steakhouse traded in its Australian theme for Texas and actually prioritized the flavor of its food. It even has a better version of Outback's iconic bloomin' onion, the cactus blossom. Texas Roadhouse is definitely a casual steakhouse with casual steakhouse prices, but don't think the laid-back atmosphere means the steaks will disappoint. Far from it. In fact, their steaks are much better than you might expect considering their fairly low prices. The tenderness of the Dallas filet is worth the trip, and if you want something unique, try the Roadkill. While the name isn't the most appetizing, this steak is covered with jack cheese, mushrooms, and onions that have been roasted to perfection. Texas Roadhouse is an especially good steakhouse option if you're going with a family, as the kids menu will satisfy even the pickiest of eaters. With locations in all but one of the 50 states, you can likely find a Texas Roadhouse near you. Smith & Wollensky has only 7 locations in the US, so get ready for a drive, because it's a fancy steakhouse that isn't afraid to spice things up. While their standard ribeye isn't spectacular, their Cajun-marinated USDA prime dry-aged bone-in ribeye is definitely worth ordering. This steak is very flavorful, but if you don't enjoy spicy foods, you should probably skip it. It's a little bit on the pricey side, but if you are looking for something more affordable but equally as fun, there's always the lunch menu. Mastro's Restaurants is a marvelous steakhouse where you need to either go big or go home. Don't order the normal steaks on the menu. They're all above average, but not worth writing home about. If you're at Mastro's and you have a few $100s burning a hole in your pocket, you owe it to yourself to try one of the Japanese A5 Wagyu steaks. Sure, you'll spend a whole lot of money, but your taste buds will agree that it is well worth the hit to your wallet. If you've never eaten A5 Wagyu, you should know that this is some of the highest quality meat on earth. Beware though that you might not be able to go back to regular steak again. Mastro's Restaurants also have a lot of seafood options on the menu, but you'd be wise to stay away because these dishes aren't good enough to justify the inflated price tag. Make sure you adhere to their strict dress code too. If you want a fine dining steakhouse experience but don't want to have to break the bank, Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse is a great place to go. Everything about this steakhouse is fancy, from the decor to the wine list. While all their steaks are worth ordering at least once, it's the 45-day dry-aged prime ribeye that steals the show. It's not cheap, but this is a steak that is well worth the money. The amount of flavor packed into one slab of meat is over the top. Even better, you can also order the seafood from Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse with confidence. Their salmon and sea bass dishes are particularly outstanding. The only issue with this steakhouse is the lack of tasty sides. The best side is the creamed spinach with bacon, cheddar cheese, eggs, and mushroom. All their other sides, while fancy, are well below average. While Fleming's Prime Steakhouse and Wine Bar is operated by the same company that owns Outback Steakhouse, you'd never know it. The two restaurant chains are worlds apart. The menu at Fleming's is so thorough that it can be overwhelming, but you can't really go wrong. Be sure to start off with one of their great appetizers, like the sweet chili calamari or the seared pork belly. And then be sure that you end it with a triple-layered chocolate caramel cake, or any of their other scrumptious desserts. While other steakhouses offer a wider variety of steaks, all of Fleming's steaks are really good. They may be more expensive than more casual steakhouses, but the quality of their steaks means you're actually getting a pretty good deal. Go with the filet mignon if you're having a hard time making a choice, especially if you like your steak medium rare. It's only 6 ounces, but delicious. Of all the casual steakhouse chains in the country, LongHorn Steakhouse reigns supreme with 600 locations. At this restaurant, you get high-end steakhouse quality at casual steakhouse prices. The 14-ounce Delmonico is one of the best steaks you can find anywhere. LongHorn Steakhouse expertly trims the steak, adds its one-of-a-kind seasoning, and then grills it over a fire. The result is stupendous. If you love rare steak, go with a rare Delmonico and your life may be changed forever. Whether you're coming here for lunch or dinner, this restaurant has menu options that are sure to excite and entice. Of their appetizers, the Wild West shrimp is fun and tasty. And although many steakhouses have chocolate lava cakes, the lava cake at LongHorn Steakhouse is better than anything the competition can offer.
What is a Chris Steakhouse? Is that a type of a steakhouse? What sort of a steakhouse do you got there? Oh, it's a Chris.
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse has a well-deserved reputation for having spectacular food. They have the art of serving gloriously flavorful steaks down to a science. If you're looking to impress, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse will always get the job done. Of all the steaks there, the cowboy ribeye is the one that stands apart from the rest, even if you typically don't like bone-in steaks. This majestic steak is 22 ounces of USDA prime-cut ribeye that will keep you riveted. If you are in the mood for some surf and turf, you can't go wrong with the petite filet and shrimp. This Ruth's Chris Steakhouse specialty comes with half a dozen large shrimp and a pair of ultra-tender medallions. The lobster is also well worth your hard-earned money. The Capital Grille is a lot like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, but with a more ambitiously robust menu. No matter which meal you select, you'll walk out of this steakhouse satisfied. The porcini rubbed bone-in ribeye is a mouthful just to order, but it's well worth the twisting of your tongue, popping with a unique flavor that everyone should taste at least once in their life. Their dry-aged steaks are some of the best you will ever eat. Of any steakhouse on this list, the Capital Grille also has the best seafood. The seared salmon melts in your mouth, while the lobster cakes will cause you to fantasize about the next time you'll visit this steakhouse. The Palm has just under 20 locations, one of them in an airport, but every location is still number 1 on this list. While it's nearly impossible to escape this steakhouse without spending at least a couple $100, splurging at the Palm will never leave you feeling an ounce of regret. The food is so good that it will feel like a bargain. Of all the steaks there, it's the filet mignon that is the cream of the crop. At the Palm, it's the quality of the meat that makes all the difference. Their beef is fed only corn, selected by an expert to make sure only the best of the best makes it into the restaurant, and is aged at least 35 days. After that long process, the result is a steak that blows all other steaks out of the water. The Palm also serves outstanding lamb and perfect seafood, and its starters are all very good. Add in an extensive wine list and exquisite cocktails, and this is the place where you'll want to celebrate all of your life's special moments. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more mashed videos about your favorite restaurants are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.